Hello guys, Discord here and welcome back to building the Beekse Bergen. It's a bit late, so I'm not going to be too loud in this episode, but I'm also going to be trying something new, which is that I'm going to have the screenshots that I normally show at the end of the video on the side. So I'm going to be kind of walking towards these screenshots, and then in editing I'll show them to you as we are looking at them. So, what are we up to over here at the parking lot of the zoo? Well, I've actually done a lot of stuff off camera, and if you've seen my latest live stream from last week, you may have already seen some of this, but over here we have kind of the first picture that I want to show, which is these backstage buildings, because I have in the winter holiday, Christmas holiday, whatever, I have been working in this area. Oh, I'm going a bit fast. Putting some of this backstage stuff in here. This is the dog kennel of the zoo. So if you're not allowed to bring your dog into the zoo, of course. So if you have to, you can leave him here safely. I didn't put too much detail into that because it's just a little kind of off the side thing, not even inside the zoo. So and also it was difficult. So but yeah, let's go inside and we'll go to the next picture, which is over here, somewhere around here actually. This is kind of a little eating plaza area with a little shack thing. I'm not really good with coming up with words for these, but yeah, this was all built kind of in between stuff. I just had some spare time on my hands and I felt a bit creative during my holiday, so I built all of this stuff. We got these awesome little lamps, these mirrors, and this is when I first started using the new font pieces to see what kind of stuff I could do with them. So like these log drawings, these little eye things, and also using them as kind of pieces of cloth to kind of hang stuff up with. And you can see what I did here is I have multiple pieces kind of angled differently so that they look a bit thicker than otherwise, because it's a plane, so it's like it doesn't have a thickness, but if you rotate them like that, it at least looks like it does, and you don't have the issue that they kind of just disappear if you look at them from a certain angle. Anyway, let's go to the first primate house now, because that's where the next picture is. And this is where I will be showing you guys the brand new education signs I have been making. If you've caught any of the last two, I think, live streams, or you've seen... well, damn. Or if you've seen me post on Discord here and there, I've been making new education signs using the new font pieces. And if you want to know how I built these, you should totally check out some of my live streams, because I'm actually saving all of these signs to be built on stream, so I'm not really building any of them on my own time anymore. I'm just doing all of them on stream, so if you're interested in that, you should definitely come check that out. Now, something else that was built using the new font pieces, over here we have the map of the zoo, and it's quite complex. This is taking me 3 hours to do, but the result is just really good, as you can see comparing it to the real map. It just, like, all the important little details are on there. Of course, we don't have pictures of all the animals and whatnot, but yeah, we've got some kind of key features of it. It looks really good, and I'm super happy with that. I do hope the zoo keeps this map for a while, because it is already kind of outdated, but yeah, I don't want to be doing that again. And then overall, I've just been updating all sorts of signs, like these signs which tell you do not sit or climb on the railings. Yeah, we are overhauling all of the signage of the park, so that's gonna take a while. As you can see, we still have plenty of signs around that aren't upgraded yet, but it'll be fun to do on stream, I think. But yeah, now we are getting to some more new stuff, one of which is this little new sign, which is the feeding presentation sign. It's a little bucket of food, and yeah, there's this little kind of holster thing where there's just a piece of paper in there that's telling you when the feeding is going to take place on that day. At the moment they all say that there aren't any feedings because of the pandemic, but yeah, normally there are feeding shows where they feed some of the animals in the zoo. And I really tried putting an educator down here to make them actually have a show, and I did, and someone actually sat down on this concrete because there's benches inside here. It didn't look very great, but it worked. But yeah, I could not hide the educator stand anywhere, and I just didn't really like the way that it looked here. So I chose not to have one here. I do have one. I hid an educator stand inside of this tree, so there are actually feeding presentations taking place over here about the tigers. So at least that kind of works, because there are actually feeding shows of the tiger, as you can see, sign right here. But yeah, sadly we can't really put them in a lot of places because of how hard to hide that thing is. But now we are coming up on the new area. Still haven't done the aviary, that is gonna have to wait, but over here we get to what I have been working on. And I mean, you've all seen the title of the video, so you know what we're getting to here. But this area is still a little bit unfinished. This will all be cleaned up once we do the aviary. But over here we get to the next screenshot, and let's just have this mechanic walk out of the way for a moment. And yeah, here we have it, just a whole bunch of birch trees, and you can kind of see the dock in the background. And yeah, there's a bunch of trees. There's a blank education sign. Yeah, these are kind of my templates that I use to make the signs. So they all have this as a starting point, and then I just make a new animal. But yeah, from here we can see this little dock down there. There's some other small details like this anchor over here. But now we are going to come up on the main area. Just turn around, we've got another screenshot pretty much like this, I think. And then we get to the real deal. So we've got the map once again, but we also have the boat dock. A couple of signs that still need updating, but you can see a bunch of stuff is already done. I actually forgot to make the car door, so that's something that we'll be doing on a stream in the future at some point. But over here we've got a lovely little area where people can actually walk around all of this sand. This is all pathed, and let me actually show you. These are all paths. That was definitely not an easy thing to do. But yeah, this is the dock on this side of the zoo, where people can get on and off. And one thing that we can actually find out here, if we just get onto the dock. Oh, you're gonna tell me I can't? Oh, no, we can, totally. From over here we can see this little kind of shoreline. I actually wanted to show you guys what that used to look like somewhere else. If we just go back to the tigers over here, you can see this is kind of the way I did that previously. And yeah, the difference is almost night and day. I really like the new faux rocks. I don't know how to pronounce that word. They bring so much versatility to rock work, but it's not necessarily rock work. This is kind of just dried up sand. But what's actually really interesting about it, you can see all the little holes in there. You can actually also see those in the reference photo. And in real life, sand martins and common kingfishers actually make their nests in these shores, and that's what those little holes are. And what's really cool about that, and it's probably one of my favorite things about this zoo, is that these are actually pretty rare birds, and they've become rare because of the way that humans dig into shorelines and make them all slanted so that they don't corrode as much. But yeah, that makes it very hard for these birds to find nesting grounds, and yeah, they've kind of become a lot rarer. But here in the, I should say, man-made lake of the Beekse Bergen, this was all dug out by man. This did not ever used to be a lake here until the zoo decided there should be. They have found a nice little spot, and because these are rare birds, this area and kind of most of the shores around here have become protected nature reserves. So the zoo is actually not allowed to touch anything around this area to be able to preserve the nesting grounds of these birds. And yeah, I just think that's really, really cool, and that's why I really wanted to make sure that I included it in the recreation. But yeah, if we move along here, we can see what that little area looks like from up top. We've got a little telescope, some education signs, and a bunch of trees. But also these kind of pinkish, purplish flowers. I tried to find one that looked most like it, and I settled on these ones. And the telescope isn't my favorite of the telescopes I've built. It's kind of bulky around this, and this thing is a bit too small, but it was kind of the best I could do at the moment. I do like the little stand, again with the font pieces. They've definitely become one of my favorite pieces, as you'll see. Well, I mean, you should have already noticed with this with the zoom map and stuff. Like, the font pieces are just incredible. But anyway, let's move along here and actually get to what this episode is called. This is the Californian sea lion habitat, and over here we can see kind of, this is where the keepers would normally access it, both over here and around the back. Here is a little gate. This still needs to be cleaned up, don't just ignore that. But where I've had to put the keeper gate is probably one of the weirdest ones that I've done so far in the entire zoo, but I couldn't put a keeper gate in this little mesh fence because the terrain was too uneven, so I had to get it further back. But I wanted to have this little mesh fence over here, so what I ended up figuring out you can do, because normally you can't have a fence in front of a gate, but apparently if you branch out from the fence that the gate is linked to, it's not letting me select it now. Yeah, if you branch out from the fence that the thing is selected to, you can actually just place a fence kind of wherever you want. So that's what I used to get a habitat gate in the ground with a fence in front of it. And yeah, that of course, oh, actually not, okay, never mind. He didn't sink it to the ground, she did. But yeah, I did have to manually place the seal in his little pond over there, but it all works out, I would say. So let's have another look at the habitat. Over here we've got some education signs. This, of course, blank one, we're going to do that on stream at some point. But over here we have some signs teaching us about one of the threats of California sea lions, which is the plastic soup. Big chunk of just a plastic landmass, basically, of just plastic that has been somehow made its way to the ocean, and because of the way oceans kind of flow, they all collect in certain points. And these are some education signs to kind of inform people about that and what they can do. So this one is just kind of generic, like it's just a lot of facts about the plastic soup. But what's really cool about it is that it's a bit interactive. You've got all these kind of pieces of trash that are in front of the text that you might want to read. So you have to turn this little thing to kind of move the text around and avoid all the plastic. And then there's a little text bubble here of the fish saying something along the lines of, "Oh, whoa, it's difficult to read with all the plastic here, isn't it? If only there wasn't so much plastic." It's a bit on the nose, but I think it's really cool. And this is a similar one, talking about how cleaning helps. Normally it says cleaning helps, but I kind of ran out of space, so I had to kind of shorten all the titles. But yeah, this is also interactive. I think normally there's like a rope you can pull or something. I'm not exactly sure how it works. But there's like this chunk of plastic in front of a piece of text, and you can pull it away. But of course, when you let go, it comes back, and then this little seal is talking about how we can clean the plastic, but if we don't stop throwing out plastic and if we don't reduce our plastic usage, it'll just come right back. Then over here is another sign that is talking about what you can do about it. And there's a little wheel you can spin and new pieces of text will appear over here that this wheel shark is talking about. And it's also informing you that the Wildlife Foundation, the big charity foundation of the zoo, supports the Plastic Soup Foundation, which are of course trying to make life better for all these animals by getting rid of the plastic soup. And then the last sign is encouraging you to inform others about the issue, so you can take a picture of yourself here, or you can take a picture of this man's ass. I mean, whatever you want. But yeah, there's just a little thing that says like, oh, I'm against the plastic soup, so I don't litter. It works better in Dutch, trust me. And then this sea lion is saying, because no human or animal wants to eat plastic. So yeah, these were really fun to build. They do have a bit of sea fighting. You can see it kind of over here. Luckily, when they're in the shade, you don't really notice the Z fighting. It's only when the sun is on them. But yeah, fixing the Z fighting would be so much effort, it's not even worth it. So I'm pretty just happy with the way they are now. Then over here we've got the viewing area of the sea lions. And if we just go over here, we've got a nice view of everything. And there's some cool things to point out. First of all, in the back here you can see a little piece of grate, and it's not very apparent, but there is actually kind of a gate here. And in real life, a keeper can come up over here and pull up the gate, and then the sea lions can actually use the entire body of water that the zoo has. And this is actually something I really tried to implement, but the diving mechanics are such a pain in the butt that I just couldn't get it to work. So over here we have our little seal, which is our makeshift sea lion at the moment. He cannot get up on the land because of these rocks, but he's enjoying his time in the water. He can't deep dive because there's not enough deep water, or the water isn't deep enough. I gave up after a while. I tried to make it work, but I couldn't, and we're probably going to end up having the rest of the seals, sea lions, I should say, because there is at least 6 of them. I think there used to be 7, but one passed away. I'm not exactly sure, but we'll have the other 4 or 5 or 6 of them in the open waters at some point. But speaking of these rocks that prevent our little seal friend, that's actually on pause. Okay, no, the frame rate's too bad. Speaking of these little rocks that are blocking him from getting up, these are actually their little feeding rocks. When it is feeding time, the keepers ring this bell over here, calling the sea lions over, because of course they might be anywhere in the park. So they call them over, and each sea lion has their own little rock that they could sit up on, and that's how the zookeepers tell them apart, because every sea lion has their own diet that is well monitored, and the keepers need to make sure that they get exactly the right amount of fish, amount of vitamin pills, amount of salt, because this is a freshwater lake, so they actually need salt supplements, because in the wild they of course would get a lot more salt. So yeah, that's actually kind of like super interesting, I always thought, so I thought I would share that with you. This really wouldn't have been possible without the new rocks, so I've waited just the exact right amount of time to do this, and yeah, I'm really happy with how it turned out. Can you imagine that at the start of this project I intended to make this a pygmy hippo habitat, and the pygmy hippo would act as sea lions. I am so happy we got the aquatic update, and I'm pretty confident we'll probably get sea lions at some point, but for now the seals are a beautiful replacement for them. But yeah, that is it for now. This area continues on into the edge of Africa, which we probably won't get to for a while. I really want to branch out this way first. We're going to continue with the Congo Square, make that aviary, and then work our way to the red panda habitat that we started like forever ago. But before we get to all that, I just want to do a lot of streaming in the coming weeks. I want to make all of those signs. I want to work on some other detailing areas in the zoo. There is so much to do. So I feel like I need to kind of put myself on hold and stop expanding the zoo and just work on all the areas that we've kind of left behind. So tune in for some streams the coming weeks. I hope you're looking forward to that, and I hope I will be seeing you live. Anyway, that's it from me. See you guys in the next episode. Or stream. Whatever comes first.